God, we're not live. Everybody, and welcome to the Red Corner Show. My name is Dr. Sandra da Mata, and I am super proud to be your host on tonight's show. I am the founder and executive head of a development company called My Self Mastery. I've also been very blessed with global experience in community development, motivational speaking. I'm also an ICF coach, trauma counselor, and I have a great passion with one of our host guests today, and that is in women and female empowerment. Please allow me to introduce our esteemed guest. We are super excited today to have on our show yet another passionate and empowering, inspiring woman who is doing so much work, especially in the rural and impoverished communities. A warm welcome to MMatsetshweu Ruby Motaung to our show, a lady who is no stranger to empowering nations through empowering women. Now, commonly known and lovingly known as Mama Ruby, she is the director of a training and resource in early education, TREE, and has also got a strong educational background and extensive experience in education and early childhood education. Mama Ruby, welcome to the Red Corner Show. It is so good to have you.
Thank you, Sandra. That was a warm, heartfully welcome. Thank you.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. We are so excited to have you on the show tonight. I remember when I met you, and it was at OASA 2023, and we were on stage. I want to congratulate you for also receiving a Hero Award. And if I remember well, you surely are a lady of a lot of commitment. You were in crutches, and we still danced as if no one was watching. Do you remember?
Yes. I was just coming out of my knee. It was just a week after my total knee replacement.
Oh, I was so in awe of your strength. Now, I had a sneak peek, and I believe that OASA 2024 is coming out in July next year, and I believe that you are one of the speakers. Is there anything you want to share with us about that?
Yes, for sure. Yes, for sure. And I'm looking forward to it because it is a moment, of storytelling. It is a moment of sharing. It is a moment of networking and connecting, with other people so that you can find yourself within the community developers, because all we are about is to make sure that we're making a difference in other people's lives. So given that opportunity, one has to jump to it, and it makes a real sense to be part of that warm and fulfilling kind of a space. So I'm looking forward to 2024.
Mama Ruby, I'm definitely going to be there, and I hope that everybody watching today starts to go online and book for OASA 2024. It's going to be epic. Now, today we are talking about a very pertinent topic. So it's not OCD, because I've had a lot of my clients tell me in my practice, we're tired of our kids having OCD over this festive season, but we're going to be talking about ECD. What is ECD? Early childhood development. Now, many of you have personally experienced the love of learning and curiosity about anything and everything that we see in young children. It is so true. I don't know if you agree with me, Mama Ruby. A child's brain is just like a sponge when it comes to wanting to learn. Very true. So early childhood development is what we're talking about today. It's a comprehensive approach to programs and policies for children from birth to 7 years of age. And the purpose is to protect the rights of a child to develop their full, and I love this, their full cognitive, emotional, social, physical potential. Besides just learning basic skills, ECD also considers the effect on a child's emotional and social skills, and that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. Now, this attitude towards learning has helped to build resilience and confidence. And it's amazing, and we're going to find out more about it on the show. When we look at how research has found a very strong connection between early childhood development and how a child then succeeds in the future. Mama Ruby is a highly respected mouthpiece, a champion and an advocate for early childhood development, as well as a member of numerous committees that are shaping and re-imaging this sector. Welcome once again to the show, Ruby. We are so honored to have you on tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Sandra, and I'm grateful to be here.
Before we delve into our conversation, do you want to share something about yourself with the audience? Anything that you want the audience to know about you before we get into the juicy stuff?
Thank you for the opportunity once more. I am Mama Ruby, as you have introduced me. And I think I am Mama Ruby because of my position in space in terms of early childhood development. My life has been about the young child. My life has been about how do we make sure that we're creating an enabling environment to making sure that we're developing better future for the young child, so that they can grow and become themselves. So that's basically, I've been in the ECT space for almost 30 years now, and it is the best thing that have ever happened to my life. And more so that I am a mother of 2 young adults. I need to make sure that I mention that they are young adults, no longer my children anymore. So I think being a mother and a single mother, it has taught me a lot, how important it is for us as parents or caregivers to play an important role in making sure that we support our children. And it does not only end within your household, but it goes beyond, to the world. And that's who am I.
That's so powerful. 30 years. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal. And as you were speaking, I'm reminded about, we often wonder about what a child will become tomorrow. And as you're talking about your own children, we forget that, they're already somebody today. And we want to really tap into that. And I love that passion that you share. Now, your passion to facilitate others to evoke change in their own lives, their households, and their communities speaks volumes of success. So many stories there. Tell us, how have you equipped communities with skills and qualifications that are necessary to create a different reality for the children of South Africa?
Thank you, Doc, for that question also. I think I would start by giving you a background. I am a foundation phase teacher by profession. So I was basically trained to teach, a young child in their first year of schooling. And my love and my passion has been there on day one. And from there, I then, work all the levels of development. And I became a facilitator for early childhood development, working now out of government, but in the non-governmental space. And then government recruited me back, and I came back, and I've been specializing in making sure that I am developing people who are responsible to get into the classroom, because I left classroom when I was a teacher. And then I started developing facilitators who are getting into the classroom and making sure that learning is happening and making sure that there's an enabling environment that we create for the young child. And also within that, I was responsible for curriculum, for early childhood development. I was responsible for literacy, because if you follow, our history in South Africa, we are a very behind nation in terms of reading. So making sure that we're creating that enabling environment, for me, it also means developing practitioners, developing teachers, developing a reading community that is able to support children to read. And I moved from there. I went to a space where I was on policy development, and all the policies were looking that I worked on, were looking on what kind of a teacher that we need in terms of making sure that this teacher is able to create that enabling environment for that child to learn and grow up to his or her best ability. So basically, I have been in the early childhood development at different levels of bringing in the holistic development of a young child. And I can't not mention the reason why I left government, because I was a nerve on the neck when I was working for government to say, government, I'm still am. As long as you put money in grade 12, you're still missing the boat and you're still gonna get the same results until you change your focus and put more money in the early childhood development. And then that's why you'll be able to say, aha, now we can see what happens from that 6 years of starting school up to this grade 12. So I left government because I felt I've done enough for government in terms of curriculum development, curriculum training, policy development, literacy and reading strategy development, and all the qualifications policy. I then 5 years ago joined the non-governmental space. Why did I decide to come here? One, I felt that I would become more a voice, to the voiceless. Voiceless meaning the child who cannot speak for him or herself, and the most vulnerable and most rural and most poor practitioners that are operating within the ECD. So that's, again, my passion. That's my love.
Oh, I wish I could take your passion and put it in a bottle and drink from it every morning. It's so, so inspiring. And it makes me kind of think about a very famous, one of my favorite sayings from Albert Einstein, when he says, it is the supreme art of a teacher to awaken joy and creative experience and knowledge. And that's what I see with you, Mama Ruby, is this creative knowledge and joy to learn.
Thank you.
I'm looking at all the areas that you've covered and really intensive experience in the field of ECD. Can you share with us how you are making a significant and transformative headway that is shaping and changing the early childhood development landscape in South Africa?
Thank you again, Doc, for that question. For me, the most critical thing is one, which is very, very important, to be the voice for the voiceless. What does that mean? I do not speak for them. I speak with them, and I speak about them with them. So that's very important. The voice that I'm bringing, anywhere I get a platform, I bring their voices with me because I am more grounded. I'm serving in a number of structures that includes the connecting with ECD forums, where you get the real understanding of what are the cries of the ECD sector in South Africa, and how do you then navigate, to all the structures that one is serving. I'm serving in a number of structures. So with me, I'm bringing that voice. I'm an advocate for early childhood development. Recently this year, I went to Panama. I was presenting a paper on capacity building for the early childhood development. Because for me, early childhood development is not only about the teacher, but it's about the child herself or himself, that we need in all the conversation that we're doing. We need to bring the voice of the child. It's about the caregiver, the parents included in the caregiving category, because we always think that as the practitioners, we are the best or the learned people. For me, it means, how do we take the parents walk with us? Because the common thing is that these parents have been the first teachers of these children. So we cannot come to them and tell them what to do about their children, but rather come with them, have a conversation. What do they want for their children, so that we connect, we co-share, we co-create. So I'm about advocacy. That's why you heard me saying I'm serving in a number of structures. And in all these structures, I am not representing myself. I am not representing the organization that is training and resources in early education that I'm working for, but I'm representing the voices, because of those people. And also I read a lot in making sure that I am on top of the developments that are happening in the ECD space, so that when I put my facts on the table, you left with no choice but to say yes and thank you.
Yes, and thank you. And we want to hear more of that. And I hope our listeners are going to be saying a lot of yes and thank yous to hearing the voice of the voiceless. And you said, I am because of them. And it kind of really talks about the spirit of Ubuntu, doesn't it? I think that's what,
Definitely.
and I'm wondering if we're talking about that, one of the many key accomplishments that you have had over the years of dedicated service includes a first in history, and that is developing and gazetting a first time in history policy for the professional qualification in early childhood development from birth to 4 years of age. Congratulations!
Thank you.
I am wondering, this is huge. What were some of the key challenges that you experienced in this journey of trying to get, this formulated as a national policy? And being the nerve in someone's neck, a national policy. Talk to me about some of the challenges you faced.
Thank you, Doc. I'll mention more the highlights because I like the highlights. And one, I influence for the first time the Department of Higher Education to go down into the ground and listen to those practitioners. What do they want to see in terms of developing themselves? That policy, I always say, that policy might be owned by Department of Higher Education, but it is owned by the ECD sector because it has been developed by the ECD sector. For the first time that I had a working group committee, that was the key driving force of this policy that was inclusive of every stakeholder in the ECD space. For the first time that you were able to connect the universities, the NGOs, the ECD practitioners, and the entire community under one roof so that they speak with one voice. What do they want to see in the future of a young child? What kind of a thinking teacher do we see in making sure that she will come out of the training ready to take the bull by the horns in developing this young child? So for me, I would give also credit to my boss then, who allowed me to go out in the world, to go out on the ground and connect with it. It took longer than we anticipated because it was a full representation of ECD masses in the country. And it's the first of its kind because if you follow ECD, we never had a qualification for birth to 4 years. That is why they've been under Department of Social Development. Our qualifications were starting from grade R, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. We call it foundation phase. So this policy was the first of its kind to set standards for qualifications for the birth to 4 practitioners. And we didn't only end by developing the policy. I also led a project that was developing universities so that they can get ready in terms of offering these qualifications. So most universities, for the first time in the history of South Africa, will be offering these qualifications in 2023, a special focus on birth to 4 years. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, wow. This is record-changing stuff. This is history in the making. And Mama Ruby, you speak a lot about the spirit of inclusivity and that there's many stakeholders involved. Now, you have also represented the Department of Higher Education on outcome number 13, which focuses on an inclusive and responsive social protection system in response to South Africa's National Development Plan of 2030. I mean, it just blows me away. You're so humble. Can you share with us how you are addressing the critical challenge of eradicating poverty and reducing inequality?
Thank you, Doc, once more. That was, again, when I was working for Department of Education. But even where I am now, it's a continuation of a response to that outcome 13. Outcome 13 is about social cohesion, as you put it. It's about making sure that we're setting up systems, we're grouping together so that we can be able to make sure that we identify all the gaps that are existing in our society, in our community, in terms of poverty, in terms of nutrition, in terms of creating a better space and better education for all. So it was an opportunity where all departmental stakeholders were grouping together and making sure and accounting, and taking stock of what they are doing in making sure that they are creating this space of social cohesion, so that by 2030, we're able to say, aha, this is how far we've gone. So outcome 13 was also a measure of making sure that each and every department is playing its role in making sure that in their operations, they are considering that there's a big group of people that are living in poverty. What are we doing? And then it was about joining hands together, joining ideas together, so that we're able to go back to our different spaces and make sure that we implement, knowing that at the end of the day, we are accountable, because outcome 13 is led at the presidential office. So we were all ready, to account for the work that we're doing in making sure that we are putting in measures of how do we address poverty, and how do we make sure that we create social security for all. So basically, that's what we're doing.
I want to jump through the screen and just squeeze you and just thank you for being the mother of education that you are. And it's no wonder that your name is Ruby. You are a precious stone to our community. I was so intrigued to hear when you talk about social cohesion. I was so intrigued that you also partnered with, I hope our listeners are listening very carefully, you also partnered with Konnichiwa, the Japanese embassy. You have to tell me more about this. How?
I love languages. I love reading. So one of the roles that I was heading then, it was on literacy, youth literacy, making sure that we are developing a reading, a youth in our space. So we then had to find all the opportunities that we can put together in making sure that we're getting funding, so that we're able to deliver according to the identified need. So the focus of that project with the Japanese embassy was about storytelling. And that's exactly what we're doing here. And what we realized also in our culture, we do have beautiful stories. We do have rich stories. We do have hope stories, but unfortunately they are not written. So that project was focusing on gathering, putting systems together in making sure that we get funding, so that we develop teachers who can write their stories, who can share their stories, who can build the country and the nation with their stories. So that was basically what the project was about.
And how was that experience for you personally?
I think that's why I'm a storyteller even now. I love stories. I believe, in a story, one, I believe in creating an opportunity where people are telling their stories, because it is very important that people tell their own stories. We do not tell people's stories. So that for me is important, because within storytelling, within sharing your own story, you are able to build the nation. You are able to change lives. You are able to bring hope, because each and every individual has a story to tell. So I'm challenging the world to be encouraged to tell our stories. You don't know how you can save lives in terms of telling stories. That is why I love sharing stories. I tell stories. I'm just passionate about telling stories, because they can make a difference.
Ruby, you tell stories so beautifully. Every time I've listened to you and I've heard you tell a story, I feel like I was actually physically there. And that's something that when we come to the spirit of Ubuntu, I think that's something we really, really thrive in South Africa is sharing stories. And we're so grateful to Shamila for having a forum like the Red Corner Show, because we're sharing stories. And when you said that your story matters, everybody's story counts. And I think that's just beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
In closing, oh my gosh, it's so hard to close with so much energy and passion, but if any of you are watching, you can definitely find out more about Mama Ruby, and you can follow us on all our social media pages. In closing, anything that you want to share, a personal message from Mama Ruby's home into ours for 2024 to the audience watching?
Thank you, Doc. Thank you once more. All I want to say is that I am because of you. Together, we can change the world. We did it in the past years. Let's get better and better for 2024. And 2024, here we come. Together, we can do more. Thank you.
Oh, 2024, together, we can do more. We've so loved having you on the show, and I really want to thank you for all the amazing and fabulous work that you have been doing. And I think perhaps in closing, I'll make reference to Paulo Coelho, and I'll come back if you have any closing thoughts or anything else that you want to share, because early childhood development is something that I think touches anyone at a fundamental level. Paulo Coelho once said that, and it's bizarre because it's so true, a child can teach an adult three things: to be happy for no reason at all. Don't you just love children that way? They can be happy for absolutely no reason. To always be busy with something, always busy. They don't want to take their naps. They want to be doing something. And I love, this one reminds me so much of you, Mama Ruby, and I wanted to ask you what you think. How we can learn from children how to demand with all our might and grace what it is that we truly, truly want in this world. That last one reminds me so much of your essence and spirit. And as we come to the end of an amazing Red Corner show, are there any extra words of wisdom that you want to leave us with?
That quote that you presented, it is a true representation or reflection of early childhood development. Early child development is everybody's business. Let's all gather here and talk and do early childhood development for the future of the young child. Together, we can do more.
You have heard it straight from Mama Ruby today. Development is everybody's business. We can do it. We can do it more and more and more. Early childhood plunging into the future. And it's individuals like Mama Ruby that are going to be the stories that are told about in the storytelling that they share with us. God bless you, Mama Ruby. Thank you for joining us. And if
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really honored. I think we're cut off.
And we're back. So yes, together, early childhood development is something that all of us are responsible for. You could hear more of these stories or even share your own stories. So email us at theredcornershow@gmail.com to see what's up next. Thank you so much, Mama Ruby, and thank you, Red Corner Show, and may your 2024 be super filled with abundance, love, joy, and lots of early childhood development successes.
Remember, umntu ngumuntu ngabantu.